Good day, everybody. So I'm working in the shed today and getting some stuff done, which I'm going to show you here in a little bit. And I hear a banging sound outside, and I poke my head out the door of the shed, and I see it's a lawn crew at the neighbor's house. And I'm looking on the side of the trailer, I'm looking on the side of his truck, and I don't see any signage. And I'm like, oh, well, you know, I'm staying busy with working with the shed. I'm not going to go hunt this guy down. And he probably doesn't speak English, you know, like every lawn guy in Broward County, they all speak Spanish. And my Spanish is Cinco de Mayo, oh boy, baño and cerveza. There you go. I forgot beer. That's how good my Spanish is. So anyways, you know, so I get back to work on the shed, and I hear the lawnmower like coming up into my yard, and I'm like, what's going on? So I turn and look. Sure enough, here he is. And so I walk out and I go to talk to the guy, and turns out he used to mow this lawn for the previous owners, and he already knows who I am because he found our videos on Sebring, and he's already watched the video from when we packed the truck and talked about moving up here and then did the road trip up. He's already watched that. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So that's crazy that I like already met I don't want to call it a fan, but right, whatever. So that was pretty wild. So I hired him because his rates are really great, especially to mow an acre of land. Turns out that he sells duck eggs, chicken eggs, quail eggs. So I'm going to be buying eggs from him. So I got my lawn guy taken care of now. So that's one more thing off my checklist. So that's great. All right. So get back to working on the shed here. Last I checked in, I believe I had the shed ready for insulation. Yeah. And what I said I was going to do was run all of my electrical and then have them come out and insulate, you know, like, so I run my electrical behind the inside the 2x4s and get all the outlets and everything prepped so that they could come in and do the insulation. And then I would just put my siding up and work around the outlets, much like you would when you drywall. And then I had the idea of, you know, if I run all of my outlets on the inside of the wall along with the insulation, if I don't get my configuration with the outlets correct, I'm stuck with what I've got. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna run them on the outside, and I am completely good with that. I did that at the Fort Lauderdale property when I built out the second bathroom, and I think it looked great. It's a real industrial feel, and I think it looks really, really nice. So I have an installation quote. They're going to come out here pretty soon and get the installation done. It turns out they will put fiberglass insulation in for $2 more than what it would cost me to do it myself. So they were absolutely hired. The biggest difference, I think, is between them doing it and me doing it, and why they can do it for like my same cost of, so they can do it with labor and materials for just the cost of my materials, is because they buy the materials at bulk and they don't have waste. So let's just say it would take me 4 1/5 roll of insulation to do my shed. Well, then I have to buy 5 rolls, and that means I'm going to have 4/5 of a roll left over, which is waste. An installation company doesn't have any waste. Nail gun. I'll get to that here in a second as to why that's in here. So an installation company wouldn't have any waste. Whatever's left over from a job, they're just going to take that installation to the next job. So their usage is probably like 99.9%. Very, very little gets thrown away, I would imagine. So the installations should be coming in. Once the insulation is in, I'm going to put my boards up, and then I'm just going to run all of my pipes and my outlets and everything going to be mounted on the outside. And before I mount everything, the plan of attack is figure out where all of my outlets are going to be, run the lines. So I've got power coming in right down there, comes up, comes to that main box, and it splits off of that. So I'm just gonna come off of that, and I'm just gonna come around where I need it. Easy peasy, not a problem. I'll just wrap the whole shed. If I gotta run outlets down that way, I'll just keep going. So I'll probably put, 4 or 5 more outlets in, easy. So I'll get all of that configured and measured and all that. Then I'll spray paint the tubing. So this is the tubing I would use, right? The plastic tubing. So I'll just spray paint that like a dark brown or something. I'll pick some color, it could be black, whatever. Spray paint it. Spray paint the boxes, everything. Except, of course, I'm not gonna spray these things, but I would spray everything, and then I would install it after it's been sprayed, and it's gonna look real nice. Next, I've got some desks that we found in Fort Lauderdale that I brought up with me. One is 6 foot wide, and the other one's 4 foot wide. So I'm gonna put the 4 foot there, the 6 foot here. Then my monitors are going to go up in this general area in a box like I'm going to build on the wall. So this is all after the walls are finished, right? So this box is going to sit up here, and my monitors will sit in the box, and there'll be doors that I can close and lock so that the monitors aren't seen. The lawn guy's doing his thing, so I apologize for the weed eater in the background. The box is going to rest on these items here. So I'll mount it, it'll sit on there, I'll screw it into place, and then where the box comes and crosses like this, I'll just screw it right into the wood, my siding that I'm putting up. I'll just find some L brackets and I'll attach it directly in there with some L brackets to make sure that it's solid. Now, a little bit of carpentry work. I'm putting in what's called nailers or nailer boards. So what are nailer boards? Well, let me explain why you need them, and then I'll show you what they are. When you go to put drywall in, and let's just say I'm putting in drywall, it's the same difference if you're putting in reclaimed wood or drywall, you're gonna have the same problem. You come to a corner like this, and your boards get secured to your 2x4, your studs, right? I'm gonna secure here. I'm gonna secure here, right? So this board, right, would get secured there, and then it would get secured there, and so on, right? It goes down. When you get to corners, this board could come in like such, right? So I would secure it in that general area there, right? I put some nails in right there, right? And I put some nails in right here, and that board gets secured. But what happens when this board comes, right? It's gonna come like this, and yeah, I can secure it here, but here, there's nowhere for it to secure against, right? So if this was drywall is really flexible, and this board would just flex. It would break at the corner. It would separate at the corner. Now I'm using thicker wood, so nailers, are they absolutely necessary? Not really, but are they still a good idea? I think so, 100%. So you have to put nailing boards in. They're called that because you have to the board is strictly there to nail into. So I've got one of those nailer boards in place right now, and that's this one here. So this board would come this way and get nailed into there. And this board comes this way, right? So this board comes up like that, then this board comes in. This board has an anchor there. This board, the first board that comes in, still doesn't have an anchor. So I still have to put a nailer board there as well. So your nailer boards need to be on both sides. So I've got this one in. Now, if I take these two boards with me and show you how that works over here. Okay. So this board would come in. it gets nailed there. It would get nailed there, right? So I'm putting nails in this way into that 2x4. And now I've got a nailer board here as well. So when this board comes, it gets secured there and there. So now when you know, if I were to hit this board with hard in the corner, it's not gonna move because it's nailed in. If that nailer board wasn't there and this board got hit really hard, it would flex. If this was drywall, it would give for sure, and it might even break if it was enough pressure. So that's what I'm doing now, is I'm going around and I'm adding in the nailer boards in all of my corners where I will need them. So I need them on my verticals, and then I need them, and I'll need them here as well, because I'll have boards that come up this way and they'll need a nailer board, right? So the boards that come vertical will need a nailer board here. And then the boards that are on the ceiling that come this way will need a nailer board there. So anywhere you have a corner, you have to put in nailer boards. Here's another thing that you have to tackle when you start putting in nailer boards. So I'm gonna have a nailer board here, right? So this is gonna finish off the corner. And what I've got is this board right here that's in the way. I'm not sure why that board is there, but it's okay. As you see, when they put the studs in, they just have to notch around it. So I'm gonna have to do the same thing. So my nailer board's gonna go in. I've got to notch around it so that this board stays square, right? If I don't notch around it, it sticks out this way too much. I got to get it flat. I got to get it perfect. So I put my board in position, and I've already marked the lines where I've got to notch out. You can kind of see a line there and a line there. So let me show you how that works. So I bring my board over. There's my two lines, right? There's one of my lines, another one of my lines. And I grab my circular saw. You only want to notch out as deep as the board that you have to notch out against is, right? So I only want to notch out that depth. Well, here's a little trick. So, right, yes, earlier in one of the earlier episodes, I showed you how that the blade depth, right, can be variable. So I'm going to change the blade depth. I loosen the key here, and I put my blade like that. So there's a little lip. There's a little lip on this board that's allowing the blade to rest on there. And I'm going to swing the saw around, right? So here's the plate. I got to get the plate to touch here. And now that plate is touching there. That's going to be the depth that the saw will cut into the board, so I can notch out to the proper depth. It'd be okay if I went a little deeper than I need to, but if I don't go deep enough, that's a problem. All right, so now that I got my depth, you just simply come over, and I'm going to mark my lines here. Oh, 1 second. I'm gonna mark my lines here. Right there. The electrician's here, so I gotta take a break. I'm gonna mark that one here, and I'll be right back. So I've marked my lines, and now I just need to run the saw from one line to the next. So simply just set the saw, you know, the plate of the saw, right? You just set it right down on your wood as such. And then you just start sawing back and forth, blade width at a time, until it channels everything out. It's really pretty much just that simple. So there you go. Channel's done. Doesn't need to be pretty. Just has to get the job done. So bring it over here. Put the board in position. And there we go. It rests in right where it needs to be. All right, so I was actually quite a bit deeper than I had to be, which is fine. I don't mind. I actually only needed to go, so now you look at it, I only needed to go that little bit because my board didn't go all the way back. So that was just an oversight on my part. That would have been a big problem, right, had I cut too much out, maybe for some other application, but for this application, it's irrelevant. The key here is I got to get this board more that way, right? So overcutting that, not a big deal. So that one's golden. That's in place. I just got to nail gun it into position and keep working on the rest of my corners. So I got to get that one down there. I got to finish off over there a little bit. Got some work in that corner, and then I've got the corner all the way up. You know, that would be considered a corner, and then on that side as well. And that should be it for my nailers.